Tony the truck guy back here again. Today we're going to be installing a Daystar 2.5 inch strut spacer leveling kit on my 2012 Ram 1500. Just a disclaimer, I'm not liable for any injury or failure of components. This is strictly for demonstrational purposes. Let's go out and measure what we got right now for wheel gap first before we start. In the rear I have Airlift 1000 coil spring airbags, so they lift up the rear about another 1/2 inch. So let's see, right here in the front we've got 36.5 inches. Another 36.5. $39.5. And $39.5 again. So we got about a 3-inch rake, and we'll see what the leveling kit brings it to. I'm hoping to maintain about 1 inch worth of rake, just so when I am towing, my butt's not dragging on the ground. According to Daystar, this is a 2.5 inch leveling kit, but these pucks are 1.25 inches thick, and according to the Hellbent website, the 1.25 inch spacer gives you 2 inches of lift, not 2.5. So I guess kind of interesting to see what it ends up being when we get it in. No torque specs came with the instructions on here, so I looked them up online, and this is what the Hellbent spacer kit recommends. The wheels are supposed to be torqued to 120 to 150 foot-pounds. Lower strut bolts 155 foot-pounds. Sway bar length 75. Tie rod end nut 45. Upper ball joint nut 50. And upper strut nuts 45 foot-pounds. This is a kit for 09 to 2012. First step, have a Boss Dodge. Loosen lug nuts on ground, jack up truck, remove wheels. Upper
Chrysler.
Chrysler. Upper ball joint nut is a 21 millimeter. Same with the tie rod end nut. The sway bar end length nut is an 18 millimeter, and the bottom strut nut is a 24 millimeter. For the tie rod or any ball joint, you can either hit right here on the knuckle and hope that it pops it loose, or you can hit on the bottom here if there's no threads to damage and pop it straight up. Once you get the sway bar end link nut off on this side, you have to go to the other side and disconnect that as well, because if you try to just take this one off, it won't pop up because the other end will be still installed and won't allow the sway arm to tilt forward and get it out.
God damn it, stop it!
Now remove your upper strut nuts. They are a 15 millimeter. So you're gonna have to drop down the A-arm in order to get the strut out, and the brake line is tight, so you have to pull the caliper off, and that's held on by two 13 millimeter bolts. If you'll notice, the inner nut here spins with it, so you either have to find a skinny enough wrench that can fit there in the shoulder, or you can take these two 24 millimeter bigger bolts out that hold the whole caliper support on. So to remove the strut, you got to push down on this. Kind of helpful to have two people. Just push down, lift up, out, voila, cut. So glad we didn't have to use a pry bar. Mine was like, Now you take your strut and you take your, well, extender bolts, I guess you can call them, extender studs. And there should be a little bit of Loctite left over from the factory on your studs here. Just screw all 3 of them on your strut and torque them to 45 foot-pounds. Should be a 5/8 wrench for these. So now you take said spacer, and you can see these 2 holes on the top here a little closer together than from here to the bottom hole. Kind of look at here and you can tell how it goes. Put that on. Again, look at it. The ones that are two closest together, that's these ones here, face that way. So we'll try to get it. Oh, I gotta push down on the lower A-arm again. Can sometimes be a pain. Get your 3 studs up through the holes there. And let up. Ah! Okay, there you go. Alright. Take supplied washers, install on all 3 studs, and install supplied nylock nuts, torque to 45 foot-pounds. Got our torque wrench set to 45 foot-pounds. The new supplied nuts are a 17 millimeter instead of a 15 like we originally took off. Go until they click. If you don't have a torque wrench, just use German specs, Guten tight. Now reinstall bottom strut bolt. You'll have to have someone push down on the lower A-arm while you push in on the strut. Let up on the A-arm a little bit. Use a hammer to tap in if necessary and tighten it back down. And I forgot the fucking torque spec.
Fucking pussy.
To 155 foot-pounds. If you didn't notice before, I used a bungee cord to hold my brake caliper up so it doesn't pull the line out or damage it. So we're going to reinstall that now. Hopefully you don't have to compress your brake pads back in. If you do, you can just use a C-clamp or a big channel locks. Aha! Get it in place. And Guten tight again on your caliper bolts. Make sure you get both of them in and tighten them up. So now you want to take another floor jack and jack up on the bottom of the A-arm so that your spindle here can meet the upper ball joint. And you'll just push down like that. And start your nut. And then you'll go over to your tie rod end. Should fall right in like that. And then you'll tighten this down. If you have issues with the whole ball joint spinning when you're trying to tighten the nut, you can try to put a wrench on the nut and then another wrench right here on these hex tits and try to hold it with like a vice grip or a wrench while you're turning the nut. And don't tighten this one down yet, because if you tighten it down you'll have to run over and loosen it again to get the tie rod end link or sway bar end link off from your other side. If the whole grabbing this with a wrench or vice grip trick doesn't work, you can try to use a pry bar here and stick in there and pry down on the joint so that it grabs, gets enough friction, stops spinning to get the nut on the rest of the way. And then tighten or torque the upper ball joint nut and the tie rod nut to 45 foot-pounds. So now all you gotta do is repeat the same steps on the other side. Make sure to reconnect and torque both sway bar end links to 45 foot-pounds when you're done. Reinstall your wheels and torque them to 120 foot-pounds. So here's the finished product after being leveled. I did do some afterwards measuring, and the front end now is 38.5 instead of 36.5 for the gap. So it did end up being a 2-inch leveling kit rather than a 2.5, but that's okay. One of the ways, like I said earlier, you can tell before you even put the kit in is measure that puck that they give you, and if it's 1.25 inches thick, it'll give you 2-inch level. If it's 1 3/8 thick, it'll give you 2.5. You want to make sure to get an alignment when you're done so your tires don't wear unevenly on the inside or the outside. So you want to bring that in as soon as you can to get done. According to the box, you can get up to 35-inch tires on here. I'm going to be going with, well, right now we got the stock 33s. I'm going to be going with a 275/65 R20 in the spring with some new rims, and that's a 34-inch tire, so we'll see how that looks. And just another quick little note. So far that I've noticed, it rides just like factory with the spacers in there, and no vibrations or anything from the driveline. So yeah, that's it. Hope this video helped you out.